Gentlemen, welcome to Wednesday's Rant. I want to just take a few seconds today and talk about something that I've seen that's been going on our Facebook, on our social media, and it's great. What's happened is guys are reading and they're seeing the videos and listening to things, and then they jump online and they talk about how they have issues and problems and difficulties, and again, it goes all the way back to that the number one issue in a man's life is loneliness. But then what happens is most men stop there and they don't do any more than leave a comment. And so I want to really challenge you today, and I want to talk about why we don't take those steps to break the chains of loneliness, and why we don't take those steps to increase who we are as men, our understanding of where we're at and how to break out of that cycle, how to break out of that depression or that addiction or that loneliness. And so really, today's talking about change and why we as men hate change. I mentioned that in the intro video on thedavidalliance.com, but I want to get really, really specific because I think, yes, we're lonely, we're desperate, we want change, but why don't we as men change, and how can we change that? I think one of the biggest things we don't want change, one of the reasons is because it's just uncomfortable, and it might be painful, it might be, we just don't know. It's the unknown. But really, I think the bottom line is this. We think it has to be massive change. We think, okay, if I'm going to change, I got to do this big thing. And that's really just the opposite. So today I want to challenge you with this idea. It's the small little things that we change that can lead to massive change. In fact, it's one small thing we do a day that can add up, that can be the avalanche to an incredible life that has meaning, purpose, relationships, fun, fulfillment, happiness, things like that. Talking about compound interest, this is what Albert Einstein said about compound interest. And I'm going to use this idea of compound interest in every area, but he said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. So if we were talking about money, and we'll get to relationships, and we thought, okay, what if I would have invested in Microsoft back in, I think it was 1985, $21 a stock. What if I just bought 100 shares of that and done nothing? At its peak, I could have sold it, and I would have had $1.4 million is what I would have walked away with at its peak. Now, if it wasn't at its peak and as where it's at that 25-year mark, it still would have been over $750,000. That's just simple compound interest. Another thing we see is compound interest. We think of like the Grand Canyon, and it was just this river, the Snake River, that just slowly every day went through and started to carve away and created this massive canyon. Then let's get a little more practical. If you drank one Coca-Cola a day, at the course of 1 year, if you didn't change your lifestyle, one Coke a day equals an extra 10 pounds at the end of the year. I don't need the extra 10 pounds. I don't think you do. But the idea is small little changes that make huge differences over time. We don't have to go out and make a massive change. We just have to make small changes in our life relationally that over time, through compound interest, will break the cycle of loneliness, will break the cycle of addiction, will break the cycle of where we feel ill-equipped and ready to take on the world. We don't know what to do. So, Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 6, Solomon, the wisest man in the world, says this. He says, plant all your seed. Plant it during the day, plant it at night, plant all your seed, because you never know what will grow and what will take off. You will never know what will succeed. So here's the idea. We want to invest ourselves in small different areas, small tiny little changes, because one of those areas is going to be the thing that causes life to all of a sudden wake up and for us to be more than what we thought it could be. So I want to share with you 8 small things you need to know about small little changes that can, like Solomon said, one of those can explode and bring a ton of growth. But these are practical, they're real, and I want you to look at them. I'll put them in the notes, by the way. Number 1, join a church. Now, look, it's no doubt reading some of the comments out there. Some people are burned out on church. They've been hurt by the church. They've been hurt by a pastor. Yes, that's the real world. we're going to get hurt by people. We don't quit driving a car because someone dented it. We don't quit eating because we got a thumbnail in our soup. Look, life is tough. We're men. We pick up, we move on. Go to church. If you don't like a church in your area, then find a church in your area. If you don't like a church that's relatively close to you, then at least find a church, number 2 step, that has a strong men's ministry. If you say, I've always gone to this church, I couldn't go to another church. If they have a strong men's ministry, then get involved. If not, you can go to that church, but find a church that does have a strong men's ministry. Search churches in your area, Google it, find out. And number 1, go to church. Number 2, go and get involved in the men's ministry, whatever that is, a Bible study or a small group or whatever it is. Number 3, do things outside your ministry with other strong Christian men. Look, fix a car, shoot a gun, bake a cake, learn some new skill with these other strong Christian guys. That's the magic. That's really the secret sauce. When you begin to build relationships, a lot of times you can sit in a Bible study every week and never really know a guy, never really learn to connect, never really learn what he's going through or be able to share what you're going through. That's number 3. Number 4, watch and listen great men's podcasts or sermons online. Continually feed yourself strong Christian information, spiritual guidance on men's issues. Maybe you listen to the David Alliance podcast. We're getting rave reviews. Listen to that. There are other good ones out there. Our podcast is only 8 minutes a day average. Be a piece of cake for you to listen to, but it's one more little seed that you're planting in your life. All right, number 5, serve people. In all of these areas, when you go to a church, get involved in men's ministry, hang out with other guys, have the mindset to serve. It's in serving that you build the strongest relationships. Hello? It's in serving that you build the strongest relationships. We all have that friend or that guy who wants to be our friend, who only wants from us. And what do? We push him away. Like, I don't have time. But if we come to serve, what can I do for you? How can I help? What can I set up? What can I take down? What can I bring? That's when we really begin to build deep relationships. Number 6, go to a class and learn something new. Learn pottery, learn painting, learn how to cook something. Let's go to a class. Why? Because many of you men are lonely because you lack the social skills. And going to a class and interacting with people is the best way to begin to learn how to better yourself at social skills and talking to people, listening to people, connecting with people. Which leads to number 7. Read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a classic. I've read it a few times. It will teach you. Every time you read it, it will teach you. Maybe you're like me, you're gregarious, you're outgoing, you think, I don't need it. No, read it, because guess what? Even as a gregarious, outgoing person, I can push people away without realizing some of the tools that are in this book. Number 8, understand in all of these, there's this compound interest in relationships. You meet a guy at church, and then you find out someone in your men's ministry knows him, and they also work on cars, and you meet with them, and it turns out to be the wife of one of the ladies in the class you're taking, and all these circle around to build a network around you that helps break the chain of loneliness, that helps bring value into your life, that creates the man that you were meant to be through Jesus Christ. All of these things kind of build to, again, take you outside of where you are now, lonely, depressed, distracted, hurting, and bring you into a new area of your life where you begin to blossom and bloom. Simply going online and talking about your pain, your problem, your loneliness, and doing nothing doesn't help. Last, this is bonus. Make sure you read and pray every day, even if it's just a couple minutes, a couple verses, and a couple prayers. It doesn't matter. You got to get into that habit because it's your relationship with God that ultimately pours grace and power into the other relationships that you're building around you. Small little steps bring monumental change as that compound interest starts to take place. This is Garth with the DavidAlliance.com. Check us out. We'll see you next Wednesday.